Good morning and welcome to our Accounts and Payroll Integration webinar there this morning. My name is Stephanie Davis and I have my colleague Sharon Foley with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a brief overview on the agenda, so what we're going to look at this morning. So just give you a quick introduction on Pimbrook for anybody who doesn't know us. We'll have a look at the overview on the setup there. Sharon will go through that with you. We will look at exporting from a payroll system and importing into Sage 50. Now, as we're a Sage house, for the purpose of this demonstration, we are using Sage Payroll and Sage 50, but Sharon will discuss there how you can use alternative account systems. Hopefully we'll have time for a couple of questions at the end if you want to. Bit of housekeeping, you're all on mute. There is a chat box there on your webinar, so if you want to pop any questions there to us, we'll have a look at them, and any of them that we don't get to, don't worry, we will store them and we'll come back to you afterwards. Okay, I suppose just quickly from my perspective is why would you pick a Sage product? Couple of things. Sage is used widely across Ireland and the UK for that matter. I mean, if you take the UK into consideration, you can add another zero to that. It's more like 500,000 businesses that use a Sage product. But here in Ireland, it's developed, it's supported by your local business partners, the likes of Pimbrook. It's constantly being updated. You will find that if you're going into recruitment, that a lot of people have used a Sage product, which will make recruitment certainly in time to embed somebody a lot easier. The Sage in itself is around for nearly 40 years, and they're more than 20 years in Dublin here. And I suppose having the two Sage products, you're going to have its own built-in integration there without having to change or set up differently. So I suppose on the other side of things is why Pimbrook. I suppose why do we set up Pimbrook? We wanted to concentrate on customer service. We do customer care calls, and you'll probably see some emails coming through to you asking what the satisfaction rate is. And across our calls here, we're receiving 98% satisfaction. Now, obviously, we don't know what is not working if we can't be told. So always feel free to give feedback. Another thing is, one thing having a support contract, but the two most important things for you is you need to make sure that your calls are being answered quickly and most importantly by an expert. And those two things we can stand over. And I suppose the other thing is we do things like this, the free webinars. We're trying to educate people around the product without having to engage in big, long, lengthy and expensive training courses. I suppose that's what I think about Pimbrook. Slightly biased, but I also show up here some of our sample of our customers think about it. And I think you can see some of those terms that are being used. I can certainly stand over those as far as the team is concerned. Now, without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Sharon, who's going to go through the setup and the software there on the integration.
Thank you, Stephanie. So yeah, as today we're going to go through the payroll integration from Sage Payroll to Sage 50. There's huge benefits in integrating between your accounts and payroll. It helps you ensure that your accounts match and they're up to date, minimizing any duplication, and errors in when you're duplicating the data. Calculate employee costs as a percentage of your sales, so you'll get reports from your accounts package. And of course, your accounts package can, it'll let you gain new insights to improve, reduce costs by saving accountants and accountants' time. So I said today we're going to go through from Sage Payroll to Sage 50. Now there is a little bit of setup involved, but at the moment you're doing it manually. And when you're doing it manually, you're going through several different reports. So you're going through your payroll and you're creating, you're printing off your control summary, your gross to net report, your cost analysis report, and your departmental time analysis report. And that's it. And you're pulling all this information together from all these different reports, to collate your information to get your journal. Now with this screen in particular, as I've just pinpointed the reports as opposed to going through each field that you need, but is pulling through, you pull the details you need from these reports to create your journal. Oh, okay, so
can I just stop you there, Sharon?
Yes,
for
of
1
course.
second. Breda, there, you may be muted on your PC. If there's any problem, we're recording it and we can send it through to you.
No problem, sorry. So yes, so create all this information you're collating to create your nominal journal. And you go through it all, you get your details, you put in your journal, and then you realize that it doesn't match. And then you have to go back through it all again, go back through your reports, figure out where the error is, and continue on until you get a matching journal, because it won't save if it doesn't balance. So from here, then you can actually save your report once you do that, but it's time consuming. So I'm just going to jump from there, and I'm going to show you at the overview of setting up your Sage Payroll, and then I'll show you how quick and easy it is to actually export and import. So within your payroll, if you go into your nominal and your setup file, you will then work through each stage of the parameters within your Sage Payroll. So the first one would be your nominal setup. And this is where the nominal code specifies the format of your nominal codes needs to be in. Now, this is really important on how it actually exports your file to make up the journal. In this case, we are using AAAA and DDDD. So A is your item code, which is generally your nominal code. B is your department code, and C is your cost code. Now, not everyone will have the C, it's only for certain versions of payroll and if you're using cost centers. But they're the letters that you need, and they have special meaning and defining the format. It won't work if you use any other codes. These are set up in your payroll. And you can see then the other boxes here, we have our nominal codes in. So depending on your balance sheet codes or your profit and loss codes. So, you know, your PRSI, and you split between your balance sheet and your profit and loss. Okay, so then you have your nominal codes, and you can see the other boxes here that I've taken from the balance sheet and from our accounts back. So in this case, it's the 2000s. Now we have a rounding code, which if anyone is paying cash and it rounds up or round down, it'll actually go into this rounding nominal code. I don't think anyone's using it anymore. And then if you do happen to add a new employee and don't put them to a cost center or a department, it will put it into a suspense account. So if you get your journal at the end and it goes to a suspense, then you know you're missing something and you need to go back and review it. So these are generally the nominal codes that we're using, but you can obviously use your nominal codes in your format. So on the next slide, we have then the journal format, and this is just how your report is laid out. So you can see at the bottom, this is 5 characters in, 20 characters in, 55 and 65 and so on. So that's just the format of where your report is sitting. So then your payments, you need to put a nominal code through each one of your payments. And again, here I've just put them all to 7,000, but you can split them out if you need to. And the same with your deductions. I have my deductions codes in here. And then you got to work through each section of that nominal setup. So today I'm splitting it out between 3 departments. Okay, so we've got Cork, Dublin, Galway, simple 1, 2, 3. So this will actually split out your gross pay in your profit and loss. Cost center will be the same if you have cost centers set up. I haven't in this case, I've just kept it as a departmental journal. And then you've got translations. So this is where if you don't want a cost center to go to a particular nominal code, this is used as an alternative for alternative nominal codes. It's useful for the nominal code structure, so it's less rigid. You can translate to use the defined codes and the payroll to, you know, different codes. In this case, we're just putting our balance sheet codes directly to their relevant nominal codes. So you've got your 2210, which is going to 001. So it doesn't go to 001, 002, and 003. You just want it to go to 2201. I hope that makes sense to you. And as said, and all the profit and loss codes will then be split by department, and you'll see that in the report when we preview it at the end. Okay, so then the descriptions, they're just used to translate your codes into English. So when you're printing out your report, you can actually see exactly what each code represents. So your 2210 is your PAYE, PRSI and USC. Your 2220 is your wages control account, pension, so on. Okay. So I'm going to actually jump out into the software now, and I'm going to show you how quick, once you have that set up, how quick it is to export the file and import it in. So within your payroll, okay, you must be at end of period, and you can go into process nominal code. So in this case, I'm just doing for period 5. So it's from period 5 to period 5. This is just where you need to create the nominal to. So I have a folder set up in my C drive called nominal, and I'm calling it nominal period 5. And this must be called .csv in this case. The file type is CSV for Sage 50 instant accounts, but as you can see, we can have it in different formats here, depending on your software and what way we need to export it to format it in a certain way for your software. So you have your file name and your file type. You can preview the file here to make sure that you're happy with it. So this gives us our nominal breakdown. And I was saying to you, we have our balance sheet codes, which are going directly. And then you have your profit and loss, which is broken down into gross wages by Cork, gross wages by Dublin, and gross wages by Galway, and so on. Okay, so once you preview the report, you can see here that I've got nothing gone into my suspense account or my rounding account, but there's no issues here. So I close that and create the file. Okay, now little tip is if you hit twice, great, it's going to tell you that you're overwriting your existing file. So you know it's actually created there in this folder, ready to import. Okay, so if I jump into my accounts package now, I can go file and down to my import. Okay, and it brings you into your data import screen. Now this is for Sage 50 obviously only. If anyone else has any other packages, they'll have the relevant import formats that they will use. It's always recommended that you do a backup before you import your file. In this case, I won't, I have a backup already, and I can click next. And it's the type of file that you want to import. So here I'm going to select my audit trail transactions. So this is picking up my format for my audit trail. And next. Okay, so I can browse I can select my comma separated file, and I can browse for my file here. Okay. I'm just going to scroll down to this PC, into my C drive, into nominal, and you can see that's my nominal period 5 here. And I hit next, and it gives me the layout, the mapping of my file. You can save this mapping so you don't have to enter it in each time, but this is the mapping for my file. And I hit next, and I hit import. Okay, and you can see there that I have successfully imported my journal, and I've got no errors. If you even have one error, it won't import. So it will tell you any errors down here, you need to go back, fix them, and redo it. So this is your import file, and it's that quick and easy to export and import the file. Close. And if I just go into my transactions, you can see at the very bottom here, there's my wages journal gone in. And again, this is where you get all your reporting, your accounts reports that that'll help you manage your accounting software. So as we discussed briefly earlier, there's a certain format of the file that needs to be in for each accounts package. So within Sage 50, it needs to be a CSV file. But what's driving that is what's called a Nominal.ini file. So the nominal file will take this report, and then it will look something like this, depending on your software that you're using. And we can talk to your software provider to see what kind of file it will take to import. But this is to format your file in a certain way to import into your accounts package. And then it will This is the actual Sage 50 file. So this is the format that it's exporting the Sage 50 file into. It's a CSV file, and it's just putting the relevant fields in the relevant places to import. And as you can see here, you know, B is blank, it's not needed. If you're using cost center, it would be in there, and so on. So the report can be formatted in a CSV, it can be formatted in DBF and Excel, and of course it can be manipulated, as I said, to go into different accounts packages. So I think that concludes our exporting and importing of the nominal file today. I hope it was helpful. I think we have a few questions and answers in there. Steph, do you have them?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking through them there, and actually around the same theme, to be honest, Sharon. I think possibly just one of them was on other accounts packages. So maybe they came in quite early on. So just to reiterate there, we are correct in saying that it's not just Sage 50.
Yes, you can manipulate that file to go into most accounting packages now. Most accounting packages will allow you import Excel and CSV files. We just need to format that INI file to be in whatever format you need for your accounts package. And we can talk to people's providers, software providers, for their accounts package to see what file they import and get samples to see if we can get it as near as possible. The other option is also, don't forget that you can get it into report. You can get the report out. So even for any reason that it didn't import, you would still get a report, which is still time saving. Okay. To put in.
Couple of specific ones there, and the reason I'm asking specifically is I think have we done Sage 200 before?
We have done Sage 200 before, yes.
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of guys there that we'll go back to there directly, and we can talk to you individually on that. Another one came through which I'm not sure of, because I don't think we've done anything on the Sage 200 standards there from my own thing. So Lisa, I'll cover that afterwards. Another one, is there a particular version of Sage 50 we need to be on?
No, if you happen to be on a very old version, it'll only take CSV files. Now I'm talking maybe 10 versions old, you know, from certainly the last 8 or 9 versions, it will take Excel files.
It would be fair to say anyway, they're going to be unsupported versions one way or another, so we should be considering that as part of the thing. Okay.
Absolutely.
There's another one here. How is the journal date determined? That
is taken from your exported file from your payroll. So it's picking up your payroll date that you're importing. So if you happen to be doing it there's a couple of things there. You can actually run the journal for more than one period if you need to, and that's set up in your calendar at the beginning of the year of when you want to clear down your nominal. So you might see when you're creating your calendar, there's a nominal setup. So you could potentially create your journal from period 1 to 4 and import that, but it will be dated then period 4 when you're importing it.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure how much you covered of this, but I just want to double check. If it doesn't work, if the journal doesn't import?
Well, the journal will always import. If you're exporting from payroll, it will always import. If for any reason you manipulate the file and it doesn't balance, it won't import. It will give you error messages, but you shouldn't be opening them files to manipulate them. You should be fixing it on the software and then re-importing them back in. Okay, so so following on from that then, would it be fair to say is if I set this up once and don't touch it? Yeah, the only time you might get an error is if you have a new employee and you don't allocate them to a department or a cost center, if you're splitting them out by departments and cost centers. Of course. But it will put them in suspense account. So you will still import the journal and you'll have to do your journal until you fix it in your accounts package. Right, okay. We've got a couple of probably slightly more technical, so apologies if I don't read this out correctly. The description of the nominal import, how many characters, or is there a limit on the characters your nominal descriptions can take? There is. If you're talking about the description that you're reading when you're importing the file, that's up to 30 characters. Okay, grand. And looks like following on from that, is there in the format for this setup? Is there in the format you mean when if you mean the setup format, you've got AAA, BBB, CCC. If it's that format you're talking about, that can take up to 16 characters. So yeah, it has a bit of scope there if you for if you've got larger nominal codes or departments. Yeah.
Well, on those two particular ones, because they're slightly more maybe technical or individual, certainly we can get back to you offline on those if we need to. Oh, interesting one actually here. I'm not sure if you did cover this. Can I run the nominal report or file at any stage?
No, you must be at end of period to run the file. But I think I just touched on it briefly there. When you're at end of period, you could possibly run for more than one period, depending on your calendar setup and when your nominal clears down. And if I'm not clear enough on that, if someone does want to look at that, they can give me a call and I can go through it with them. But on the calendar setup, you have a nominal clear down. So if you set your calendar period for period 1 on setup, it'll go from 1 to 4, and then it'll clear down from 4 to 5. So if you're in period 5, you won't get your nominal report from 1 to 4. It clears it down when you move on to the next period.
Okay.
But I can go through that in a bit more detail if anyone has any questions.
Individually. Okay, yeah. That's super. Okay, well, I'm very conscious of people's time there. So if we didn't cover anything off, please feel free to follow up. If you'd like a copy of the webinar, we can certainly issue that out. And by all means, all feedback or further inquiries on the webinar is most appreciated. And I suppose keep tuned in to us for anybody here maybe who's not a Pimbrook client. We do these on a regular basis on different topics around, and any suggestions for other webinars are most appreciated. Okay, thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.